have you ever performed a toe crunch?
I don't know what a toe crunch is.
Neither do I, but apparently it's really good to get you back in contention for the Tour de France.
Who's been toe crunching?
You're going to find out a little bit later on. But
Maybe
do you know what it is?
No, I mean, I'm thinking maybe it's like a squat or something on your toes.
So like a calf raise, is it not just a toe raise?
I don't know. I think we're going to have to Google that.
We're going to find out so much in the latest edition of the Wheelhouse podcast. I'm using a bit of a serious news voice because there is an absolute shit fight happening where we are in beautiful Italy, although you might not know it looking at this amazing backdrop. We've escaped the weather and come to lovely Venice for the third episode on our Italian jaunt. And my, Kate Bates, haven't we got a bit to discuss? My name's Joel Spreadborough. Hello to you.
Hello, Joel Spreadborough. You know, most weeks, to pull back the curtain a little bit, how we do the rundowns, you know, each day we pop something in there that may have happened overnight. And usually by the end of the week, there's one or two items that may not be relevant anymore.
They've dated.
Fair to say this Giro has created a bit of a bin fire each day, a daily bin fire for our rundowns. Everything is changing so quickly.
Yeah, look, it's gone spectacularly wrong or spectacularly right, depending on your perspective.
There's not a lot of spectacularly right at this point.
We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the implications around Remco's withdrawal and the subsequent discussion around the impact of COVID, the protocols as they stand. Aussie watch, we've had some sad news. We've had some near misses, but we have got an Aussie staying in the mix as best as possible. And what does Pog do to pass the time when he's healing from a fractured wrist? We're going to find out all that and much more. My name's Joel Spreadborough. Lovely to be with you. Oh, I just rang a bell. Didn't even mean to do that. Let's get underway now. Kate Bates, sorry. Don't know what I was going to call you then. Kate Lyons? Not sure. Kate Bates, there's only one way to describe it. We've touched on it. An utter shit fight in the Giro.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the frigid conditions, because I don't know if frigid quite does it justice. It has been absolutely appalling. Everything from, I guess, just basic visibility and safety to just downright oppressive conditions. What do you make of it?
It has been absolutely insane weather conditions in Italy, isn't it? I mean, in Australia, it's autumn coming into winter, and a lot of people are having a little bit of a whinge about what the conditions have been like.
Hello, everyone back home, by the way.
I mean, I myself have, seen my mother wearing some Ugg boots that are questionable whether they are even necessary in the Australian conditions. I mean, we take cold pretty seriously here. But it turns out that summer in Europe can be exceptionally harsh, or I suppose still the end of the spring.
Yeah.
But it does, talking about my mother's Ugg boots, sorry about that, Jude, probably get a terse text message later for that one. It reminds us that Aussies aren't very good in the cold, Joel, and I think poor Jay Vine has really highlighted that this week.
So slipped out of GC contention, not feeling so fine, Jay Vine, as it would turn out. And I'm just going to update our box. Do we need to update Jay Vine anywhere?
You've
got him
box.
as a smoky.
So
let's
interpret that. He's sitting now in 36th spot, 25 minutes down. So I think he's out of GC. But he can definitely go for some stages, I think.
Okay.
A la the Vuelta last year, if the weather improves, which it is set to improve. But
I want to ask you for some science, some medicine, some physiology, because you said, Jay, a lot of Aussies, I guess, used to different climates and all of that, seem to be potentially doing it a little bit tougher. And we are seeing, and we will talk about riders very much embracing the cold conditions and actually saying, you know what, let's tackle it. Let's just get into it as much as we can. Why do some riders suffer more than others?
Yeah, we're looking at you, Magnus Court, for somebody embracing the cold.
Right.
So I had a chat to the guys at Core Body Temp who they have these fantastic devices who help the athletes monitor and acclimatise their body temperature. A lot of the time when we talk about temperature, we talk about how they're handling the heat and how they regulate body temperature and stay cool enough. But it is a real consideration in the cold because you have mentally this thing where your body is literally telling you to go home. It's going into protection mode. It's saying we can't handle this cold, go home. And so the athletes are battling that. But on top of that, physiologically, you're going into a bit of a shutdown mode where your body is protecting itself. And so when Jay talks about like simple, I was just too cold, it's not like I didn't like it and I was freaking out. His body is telling him, stop.
You're done.
You're not as responsive. You're not able to brake as quickly, which really affects your descending, which was a big factor for Jay. But also your body's not allowing enough, the same amount of energy to be available to your system for the high performance, because it's literally thinking it's a bear going into hibernation mode.
So, the classic and probably outdated mantra of just harden up, take a tablespoon of concrete, just get on with it, just is not actually possible.
Well, good question, because yes and no to a degree, but not on the day. And so Chris from Core Body Temp explained it really well in saying the Aussies are behind the 8 ball when it comes to cold, because the conditions just aren't cold enough here and we're not acclimatised to it. So acclimatised is the term they're using. But also the fact that a lot of the Aussies kind of overdress essentially in training because they find it, quite frankly, bloody cold. And so you put on everything you can to get through it and to train, and you think you're doing a really good job training, but you're not acclimatizing to it because you have so many layers on.
So you have to suck it up. You have to
go.
Yeah.
It's got to become part of your training strategy, that if you want to improve how you naturally are in the cold, because, taking into consideration that some people just acclimatise better in different temperatures. But if you don't acclimatise well, you need to factor that in. You need to dress in less and start getting used to it a little bit. I mean, it's the same as these things around ice baths. We've talked about that. I've got an ice bath.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that it gets easier.
Yeah.
But it is horrendous when it starts. And so I think to a degree they do need to toughen up a bit in training and factor it in strategically, because once Jay was confronted with these conditions, there was nothing he could do. So he couldn't toughen up on the day. It's just perhaps now realising that he doesn't operate very well in these frigid conditions. And what can he do in the pre-season and in general day-to-day training to get a bit better at that?
Nude runs in the snow, I think, are the answer there. Yeah. Trust me, it works. Sorry I didn't reply to the email invite to get in your ice bath for 30 minutes as well.
It's all right.
I'm
not going to give up on that.
Yeah, no, that's all right. This is the Wheelhouse Podcast. We're talking about the shit show that is the Giro. And with all respect to the race itself, because it does keep on giving as far as storylines go. It's been extraordinary, just not a lot of them about prowess on the road, unfortunately. But let's go into it, because one of the things that we love when we talk about the Giro, and being here in Italy, in beautiful Venice, obviously we're away from it at the moment. If there was a stage in Venice, it'd be fine. You'd probably need a paddle wheeler to get through it, but it'd be okay.
No, I mean, it's beautiful here. And my sister was telling her, I was telling her about us heading to Venice, that she did an edition of the women's Giro d'Italia, and they did a time trial in Venice. Oh. And then with where it finished, they all then evacuated them on gondolas.
On gondolas?
Yes, but I can say that they pre-booked the gondolas to get them out, not like the cable cars on the mountain
fantastic.
At the beginning of the Giro. But yeah, so there you go. So Venice does have a very rich history with the women's Giro.
Okay, well, that's great. Well, look, it also has a rich history with beautiful blue skies and sunshine, which is why
I know.
It is really lovely to be here. And just a quick ciao!
Bellissimo!
Beautiful, beautiful, hospitable place. Closest I've been to Venice was in Las Vegas. The Venetian Hotel has its own canal. Went on a gondola ride there. Not quite Venice, but hey, pale imitation.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about peaks, because there's peaks, there's troughs, and then there is the iconic and the legendary Chimichoppi. And I want to talk about the Chimichoppi. I want to talk about what is it? Chimichoppi.
Yeah, Chimichoppi.
Chimichoppi.
It's been chopped.
The chopping of the choppy is what I want to talk about. Extraordinary. So, look, for the best, of course, but they're going to skip the highest peak of the race due to just being absolutely untenable.
Yes, it was supposed to be Grand San Bernardino. Geez, I've done a good job with that.
You've done a Joel.
But it's been a lot of snow up there, and they've cleared the roads, but they don't think that there's an acceptable risk around avalanches and stuff. So they have chopped the Chima
I got to
copy.
say, when they are doing that in cycling, and this is a massive hat tip to cycling, you know that it's extreme. If they are making that call, given some of the shit they ride through, when they're making that call, it's like, you know what,
It
that
must be serious.
Otherworldly.
Well,
otherworldly.
instead they go through a 5.8 kilometre tunnel.
Yeah.
Which I think is just amazing. 5.8 kilometres through the middle of a mountain.
I've got some... Yeah, Merxie's onto this. Merxie.
How are they going to get the pictures out?
He's always thinking of the
you
product.
should. I mean,
you
should probably tell us, Merxie.
Merxie, how are they going to get the pictures
How
out?
are they going to get the pictures out?
I don't know. I think they'll go in. The chopper will just show the mountain, and then we'll wait for them to come out.
We're not going to see like a James Bond Die Hard style chopper following them into the tunnel, like a chopper pursuit.
The vision goes up to a chopper. Radio frequency. How they get that out, I cannot wait to see.
I don't know, but I think Joel's onto something with the James Bond thing here, because Roger Moore actually lived in the village at the stage finish of Crans Montana until the day he passed away. So there is a link there, Joel.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a 25.7K climb.
Okay.
Right, so we're not expecting a big bunch.
Yeah. There is a link there, and Merxie, if you don't mind, there could be a link there as in linking through the tunnel and relaying pictures out, or the alternative is we're just going to watch shots of vistas and stats boards for that 6 kilometres because we won't be able to see what's happening in the tunnel.
Yeah, I don't see how they can get the pictures out. It's fascinating.
Geez, it's such a complex job. The couch peloton often gets a little bit cranky pants when there's no vision, but it's not quite as easy as we might think.
Well, we often speak about... Oh, sorry, Merxie.
Sorry, the people don't realise the moto cameras all link up to the helicopter, and then the helicopter links the picture back to the broadcaster.
Wow.
So without the choppers, the motorbikes can't get their pictures out.
Get to the chopper.
So they could get to the chopper.
They can't get to the chopper.
So when the motorbikes are in a tunnel that's beneath several 100,000 tonnes of rock, the signal basically can't make it out.
Tough titties, no
We're
pictures.
often speaking about broadcast being hampered by not existing when we miss out on big chunks of stages. But on this occasion, I want to give one to the broadcasters because they just can't. There's a technical issue around showing pictures from this 5.8 kilometre tunnel.
Yes. Well, and the reason that it is a deal that they're going through the tunnel and not over the Chima copy is because the Chima copy, it's the highest point in the Giro.
Yeah.
And the rider who goes over the top first gets 50 points in the KOM competition. So in theory, the first over there, if they've accrued any other mountain points, could well take home the coveted KOM jersey. So it's a big one. So they've moved it to Trecimi de Levarado on stage 19, which is actually cool because it means that we are likely to see more breakaways on mountain stages as the non-GC riders chase the KOM jersey, because now stage 19 is where it might be won or lost. So that's actually pretty cool.
That is really, really
There's
cool.
There's an upside for it.
There sure is. Out of the dark and into optimism, quite literally. So the Chima copy being re-evaluated due to conditions. Now, let's talk about carnage, because we do talk about that a bit, because there's a lot of it, let's be honest. So my mate, Sticky Tape Man, one of the...
Primoz.
Hates a tumble. Hates a tumble.
We've seen an awful lot of Primoz's butt over the years, because he's fallen so often that we can often see exposed skin. That's how he finished stage 12. In his words...
No, you're absolutely right. He often looks like he's been attacked by a panther or something, and it's like
he does.
Clawed
What's happened? He must get more team kits than any other Jumbo rider, is my guess, for the year. I reckon they'd probably give him 20 extra, like JIC.
Yeah.
Just in case.
But you know what? He earns it.
He does
He earns it, and he's got this attitude and this resilience that is almost... It's almost like it's out of a Hollywood movie. It genuinely, I think he inspires those around him with his tenacity and the ability to keep getting back on the bike. In fact, Merxie, I think you might have a quote that sums this up, his approach and his mental fortitude better than anyone else can.
The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Okay, that's Primoz Roglic speaking after his 4 millionth stack of his career there.
Well, I mean, that was Rocky, but those
Wink,
words,
wink, 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 Catherine.
those words were said by Primoz at the end.
Yeah, so
wasn't
he said it doesn't matter how you get hit, you get back up. Yeah. Yeah. Look, good attitude.
I mean, it's pretty. It's pretty. I'm sorry, you put me off a bit with your. Oh,
Hey,
but
I
like
forgot about it. Adrian! Is that when he's getting off the bike? Covers his stag going, Adrian! It's like, sorry, my name's not Adrian. Can I help you though?
He's got such a good attitude.
He
He's
does.
like always smiling and joking.
Yeah.
On top of pulling out that wonderful Sly Stallone quote, he said, "Yeah, I finished today with some meat out."
With some meat out.
And,
Wasn't that great?
Gerraint Thomas got asked about it, and he said, "Yeah, I noticed he was a bit fleshy."
Fleshy. And that, I got to say, one of the great interviews because it was just a little gold mine
Yes.
from Primoz. It really was.
Well, I mean, and it'll help him in the coming days when it's all about power to weight because, as he said, he's a couple of grams lighter.
oh yuck!
I mean,
for some reason that image just puts
marginal gains.
You know what sprung into my mind? A cheese grater.
Oh.
I know. That's really gross, but that's kind of what he's talking
Crashes are tough on the athletes, especially multiple crashes. I think he said 3 or 4 in this edition.
Yeah.
But all of them are crashing. So it's not that there's many riders who
Yep.
have escaped it to date. So that levels out the playing field a bit.
Overall contenders as well. So Primoz obviously still sitting pretty up in the top 2, basically. Teo Gegenhardt, no stranger to a slip and slide either.
No, look, he had a really nasty crash. It was really confronting to watch on the coverage, actually, and for the other athletes involved because he was conscious, but he didn't get up quickly. And in fact, one of Primoz's teammates, Koen Bowman, you can see him pat him on the back and ask him, can I help? You know, he's helping remove his bike from under him. And apparently Gegenhardt said back to Bowman, I'm very hurt. I'm not getting up. So thank you, but I don't need any help.
To stay down.
I need the ambulance.
Oh,
and
goodness.
so they were talking about him perhaps breaking his leg. He's actually broken his hip. He will need surgery on it.
Oh.
But it's pretty terrifying if you Google doctor this, if you look into it. But I can say that there's quite a lot of athletes who have broken pelvises, and even when they've needed to be surgically repaired, who have been brilliant on the other end. But we just don't know. So we'll just have to wait and see some news from how he goes. But he's got an incredible attitude, Gegenhardt, and I think in terms of mentality, if anybody's going to be able to come back well, he's one. But it's a bit of wait and see.
I see it now. One of those comeback stories in the future.
Yeah,
we don't know how long that future is.
And he was in good spirits because even though he was in the hospital with this, he was still tweeting about his partner, who's a female football player for Arsenal, about how she was playing really well and scoring goals, and he was congratulating her. So I think he's got a great support network and a great attitude.
Mercy.
Lionheart.
Lionheart.
You like it?
I like it. Yeah.
Very much so. Yes.
Teo Lionheart.
Thank
I
you.
like
That's
it.
fantastic.
There we go. There's a new
Add it to
nickname
the
for
board.
us.
Teo Lionheart. All the best with that recovery. What a shocking.
Well,
shocking
and
injury.
it turned Ineos from being in the absolute hot seat with Gerraint Thomas in the pink and Gegenhardt in third to, change the game again.
This is what you're talking about with the whole peek behind the curtain rundown changing from day to day. That was our thing.
Yeah,
Like
I had Ineos in the hot seat. I had to delete that pretty quickly.
Another thing we had to delete. And you know what? Let's just take a pause to breathe it in for a minute here because the Wheelhouse podcast is coming to you from the beautiful city of Venice. And as you can see, people are getting about with their lives. It's a beautiful sunny day. They're out about walking, mingling,
Seagulls are flying.
The seagulls are flying. The water looks beautiful. People are out eating, doing their thing in a sense of normality, because the world, I guess, in a lot of people's perception, has returned to a state of normal post-pandemic. But it hasn't. And that has very much become evident in the Giro as well, because no less than the world champion, the hot favourite, the pink shoe-clad Remco Evenepoel went down and the world stopped. And you knew this was big news because it went mainstream. It went everywhere. Remco out, everywhere you look. And this, we're not covering this as breaking news because it happened quite a while ago, but the fallout, the spin-off from it has been quite significant. And I want to talk to you about this, Kate Bates, because obviously Remco going out, it sparked some conspiracy theories in Italy. It sparked questions of is he faking it? Is it even happening? And then it sparked a lot around protocols and around how seriously people are taking them, the distances between those there in the press, for example, and the actual bunch themselves. Are we respecting COVID? What does this all
There's
mean?
a lot
How do
to
we
unpack.
even get into this?
Yeah, I think we start with well wishes to Remco. I mean, forgetting anything to be in the pink jersey and be forced to abandon a Grand Tour is devastating, and it will be very emotionally difficult for Remco. He's young. He's 23 years of age. You know, in all realism, he's a boy. You know, and he's got so much pressure on his shoulders and he carries it exceptionally well. This would be devastating. But the reaction has absolutely flamboozled me.
It has flamboozled me as well.
Is that a word? I
utterly
like that word.
flamboozling. No, well,
I'm going to use
now.
it. It's because some very well-respected figures in the community, including Alberto Contador, came out and said, I'd like to believe that he has COVID, but there's a lot of other explanations. So he pulled out after the time trial. He won the stage, but only by 1 second to Gerraint Thomas. And he looked like hell.
He looked really
It's not just that he looked like he was a bit fatigued.
Yeah.
He looked like absolute death warmed
He wasn't
up.
that smiling young man from the Pizza Hut commercials.
He was not. And some people took that as he's tired, he's about to lose the lead, he's pulling out before the challenge.
Wow.
Seriously? Like, are we that far down the foil hat tunnel where people have that kind of conspiracy theory?
Yeah.
And then probably more concerning than that, Gazzetta dello Sport, like the big sport newspaper in Italy, they have L'Equipe in France, and we hear a lot about that during the tour, published an insane set of articles quoting Italian legends in the sport saying he should toughen up. In our day, we would have ridden on, like, big deal, just because you have COVID. So they were saying, okay, fine, we believe he has COVID, but he should continue and, you know.
What got me was them saying he has disrespected the pink jersey.
Yes.
He's and we spoke about this we touched on this in a completely different context, as in sharing the jersey, giving up valuable GC seconds, all that. And we actually said, you never know what can happen anyway, lo and behold. But that's different. That's very, very different to what these I'm going to call them accusations of saying you're disrespecting the jersey by bailing on the race because you're doing it a bit tough and you're not pushing through a deadly virus that has claimed so many lives right around the world and has been a plague on our existence for the last going on 4 years.
Yeah, and I think it's important to talk about this a little bit because social media also lit up enormously with some criticism of Remco, but also a lot of people not even aimed at Remco, but saying, why are they even testing them? Like, the world's moved on. Let's move on. This isn't a thing anymore. We've come out the other side of it. And I will get a little bit personal here because I can't even tell you how crazy this drives me, Joel. This year was 1 year anniversary since my darling father passed away, and he passed away with COVID. And anytime somebody says to me, oh, this is in the past, I just cannot accept that Because if he got COVID today, it would probably be the same outcome. Okay, we're not locking ourselves in our houses and things. The world has moved on to a degree, but there's a humanity here. It is still killing a lot of people, a lot of vulnerable people. So that's the first thing. Sorry to bring it down
Not at all. No,
a bit
no,
there,
it's,
but I just have to say that personally, the loss of humanity when people are talking about it. But let's dial back from the emotion a little bit, because I think when we're emotional talking about things on both sides, that's when I think you get into these big debates and the facts get lost. So here are the facts, and these come from team doctors. We've spoken to a coach of a World Tour team who didn't want their name to be used.
So we're just going to call them the
wheelhouse doctor. But about the impacts of COVID on athletes' health. The first and foremost is on heart health, and it's very well documented in non-athletes that you can get heart inflammation of your pericardium. It can be very life-altering. If not fatal, it's very dangerous. That's before you then push your body to absolute extremes, and cycling and cardiac health is a really big one. The second thing is we are now the world is dealing with long COVID. Whether or not athletes are symptomatic or not, actually they know now does not affect their vulnerability to long COVID. So they may not even know they have it, and they will still get massively affected. So the current thinking is that if you have a viral load of any kind, you just shouldn't be competing. That's influenza, that's COVID, and that it's a progression in the sport, like concussion in football.
Absolutely.
To check it. So it's that simple.
But the athlete's perspective is an interesting one, because we hear all these commentators, former greats. You see it in other sports as well, back in our day. What do the athletes think?
Oh, they're a bit scared of it.
Yeah.
They don't want to get COVID, and they're scared of what it will do. I mean, athletes are incredibly health conscious.
Yeah.
They're scared of what it'll do to their career, but also their long-term health. And so they shouldn't have to be forced to push through it either.
I have two words for you, and I know you're going to like it. Patrick Lefevre.
Oh.
Your mate Pat has actually had a bit to say on this, and is not necessarily going down his usual route.
Yes. Look, I swallow my pride here, Joel. We know that I'm not a big Paddy fan. No, he's handled this exceptionally well. He's really come on. That's great
Can I have
audio.
that one more time. Gasp.
That's our live crowd here in Venice.
Ciao.
So he's come out and he's really advocated for his athletes, and he's this is a quote from him. He says, "It's not worth it to me. We're not going to be silly, are we? I'm not toying with the life of a 23-year-old boy." Right?
Best thing he's ever said in my experience.
So like toying with the life. Remco's dad then came out and said, "We're talking about sons, fathers, brothers, young men. Why on earth do we think it's okay to push them so hard that it could have devastating effects on their health?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we even having this conversation? If everyone should just be giving well wishes and that's it."
Get better, yeah.
And then the other thing that I did see was that the team doctor came out because 5 of the athletes from Soudal Quickstep have it. And he just said that he's really grateful that Lefevre has taken his medical advice, because it's not in every circumstance that doesn't happen. A lot of the doctors give advice and the team managers go, "I'll take that under advisement." But he said in the 25 years he's been working with the team that Patrick has never pressured him to go against medical advice, and has allowed him to support the riders and do their job. So I think that is, on the welfare front, very good. So maybe he's a misogynist, but maybe he's actually not a horrible person.
Yeah, look, he's had some bad things to say, but this one actually makes a great deal of sense. And it amuses me, like in other sports, we see it, cricket, Formula One, tennis, you're out. You've got COVID, they're out, and yet the media doesn't tend to savage them as much. It's really interested me that they've gone so hard for the throat on this. Now on Remco, I've got to ask, because we'll be there in Paris, of course. Will he be there?
No, he won't do the tour. I mean, everyone's going like, oh, wow, what an interesting tour.
But no, Remco, I'm kidding.
I mean, realistically, though, the Tour de France is 6 weeks away, and Remco will not be on his bike for a couple of weeks because he needs to look after his health. So there's that. But also the biggest goal for him this year is the World Championships, especially the time trial. Very hard to defend a road race, although, you know, a couple have done it. Peter Sagan. Merckxy is nodding along heartily at that one. And so he needs to just refocus now, you know, and get over the mental load of what this has done. This will hurt. So
yeah, it will.
I think that we'll see him absolutely flying in Glasgow.
Go binge Rocky.
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3. Just you only need to watch 3. Don't watch all of them. Just watch the first 3 and get yourself back into the frame of mind. Give Primoz a call, exchange quotes, all of that. But look, all the best to him. And there's no we'll move on. But athletes, they know what they go through. They're just like, get better soon, and so are we. Let's talk about Australians on the Wheelhouse podcast, because we're a pair of Australians right here in beautiful Venice. Now, hasn't been the best.
Mixed fortunes. We've had a couple of stage wins.
We've started brilliantly.
We have. But look, let's summarise it by saying close but no cigar.
Ash.
Simon Clark, stage 5.
Oh, you had to bring that up.
Sorry, look, we've got on the pizza box stage 8 because Keno was dead set that stage 8 was built for a Simon Clark victory. Keno is not often wrong, but he was on this occasion. But he went on stage 5 and close but no cigar. We're also crossing out Teo Gegenhardt on there.
I am not crossing out Jay Vaughn.
No, do not. Seb Berwick, he was 3rd on stage 12 after being in the break all day. Again, close but no cigar.
Yeah.
One of our stage winners, Caden Groves, he's got tummy bug. So he's headed home, all the best to him. But a breakout, you know, first Grand Tour.
Absolutely.
First Giro stage win. So that's amazing. And our boy Jack Haig, sitting just outside the top 10, still in GC contention with the big mountains coming. So could he be Bahrain victorious?
Oh, highest placed Aussie in 11th, I believe, last time I checked anyway, but they're in the mix.
Yes.
And I want to talk about Berwick really quickly because... young Brizzy boy, even though claimed by the Southern, whatever.
Born in Brisbane.
Yeah, exactly.
Grew up in Melbourne.
Check the birth certificate.
We'll take him.
Yeah. Was in the mix. Was right there in the mix. Look, I just want to focus on the quote because I ain't doing shit, he said at some point. Now, that's fantastic.
Yeah, he said it to Nico Denz, who went on to win the stage, and well done to him, his first Grand Tour stage win. But he was wanting a little bit more assistance in the break from Seb Berwick, and Seb wanted none of it. You got to be careful with that because even though strategically it was a good decision for the youngster, you know, sometimes riders then don't want to ride with you in breaks because they don't count on you as reliable. So it's a fine line, but I like his attitude.
I ain't doing
but
shit.
That was stage 12 was on 18th of May, which is my birthday.
Yeah.
And I had said on our first Giro show that I really wanted an Aussie result on that day, and I felt really good about it. So we got pretty close, right?
We sure did.
Yeah, just no cigar.
No, but he spoke about his frame, his slight frame sort of holding him back a little bit at the end, all of that. So it's all right. You want to talk about weight gain? I'm your guy. Let's stay on the Aussies. So we've had some good news, some bad news. Jayco doing some recruiting of a prominent Australian as well. The Pied Piper, Kate Bates.
Yes, Alan Piper. He is one of the most revered and respected kind of race advisors, analysts in the sport. He worked with UAE for a long time and really considered one of the secret weapons behind Pogacar. He's a Grand Tour stage winner himself. He won a stage in the Giro in 1990.
There you go.
And the Tour de France team time trial in 1990. Was around the block a lot as an athlete and also has been as a team director. He's been unwell. He's fought a cancer battle and he's won. And we just love Alan Piper in here at the Wheelhouse. He's just such a good fella. Yep. We'll get him on the phone soon in the next couple of weeks to chat about what it means for him to be there. But a really great appointment by Jayco Alula.
Yeah,
I think
huge.
that, I think that'll make a material difference to their performance.
Good
so well
hear.
done.
Recruiting on and off the track.
Good
Now,
acquisition.
I have I'm just toying with a slogan, if you don't mind, on the Wheelhouse podcast. When Grace Brown is in town, you're going down. What do you reckon? What do you reckon?
Oh, spend a little bit more.
There's been better slogans, but what do you reckon about Grace Brown?
I'm so pleased to see her winning. It was her first win in a time trial at the Women's Tour of Britannia in her Aussie Champions colours. It's been a bit of a tough early season classics campaign for Grace. I don't think she quite got some of the results that she was hoping for, but she's coming into form, which is great timing ahead of the upcoming Giro and the Women's Tour de France and such. But she then went on to win the GC at the Tour of Britannia. So go GB.
I love GB. She's so humble. She's so humble.
She is. She's a lot of fun. She just goes about her business, works hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Wheelhouse has Amanda Spratt as an exclusive correspondent, so we might try and get Grace Brown on board
Definitely.
as well. You'll be able to sort that out, I'm sure.
We'll get onto it. Well, and while we're talking the Aussie women, it's great to see Sarah Roy back. So welcome back on the bike, Sarah. She broke her tailbone in the Spring Classics, and that curtailed that season for a bit. She then went onto the track, and she had a stack in the team's pursuit at the Milton World Cup.
Yep.
And got a dirty giant splinter in her leg that took a number of days to then get out and did a fair bit of damage to the muscle. So she's had a bit of a rough trot, but she is one resilient athlete, and it's just so good to see her back on the bike. They're on track camp in Portugal at the moment. I think, Merksy, have you booked our tickets to Portugal yet?
It looks amazing, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? It looks so good. Look, and
Sorry, Merksy, the question was, have you booked our tickets yet?
Working on the tour, Joel. The tour
Thanks,
is our
Merksy.
priority.
Thank you, Merksy.
France, a little bit further north than Portugal. But very quickly, I'm just feeling a little bit ripped off. I spent literally years of my life on track camp with the Australian team.
Yeah.
And we trained in a place in Germany that we referred to as Butthole.
Oh.
It's called Butgen.
Butgen, okay.
Very near Dusseldorf. But I think that what we called it probably describes how we felt about it.
Didn't like the joint.
And then the ladies are in Portugal in the most beautiful place with the most beautiful pool. And look, I'm glad that they've caught up.
I say this to you often. You had your birthday this week. Happy birthday, by
Thank
the way.
you.
Never too late for a comeback.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Merksy would support that. Oh, maybe he would if we got to go to Portugal.
That'd get us our tickets. There you go.
And the other thing I wanted to flag is there's this beautiful documentary out, All Access from Trek. And it's about Lizzie Deignan. It's about her comeback. But the opening scene is of Amanda Spratt kind of talking smack about Lizzie Deignan and having a good laugh about it.
That's great. Good
So,
on you, Spratty.
good on you,
Say what you
Spratty.
want.
Good on your blue shoes.
Yeah.
Got a good sense of humour.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's great. So Grace Brown putting everyone down. Sarah Roy getting up off her ass with after oh my goodness.
You're on the fly
I'm so
here.
glad I didn't do my segues because they were all really bad. That look big on the Lizzie Deignan. That'll be great.
Yeah.
All access doco. We love our docos. What's your title for it?
Well, their title I can't beat. The Queen is back.
Don't like it.
Oh, come on
Deignan
now.
out.
Deignan back.
Well, no, that's in dining out.
I get it.
but
it wasn't catchy enough that I got it
Still
first
want to
time.
do better than them.
No,
Anyway,
but
we'll
look,
work on it.
it's about 13 minutes. It's worth 13 minutes. And what it talks about her coming back from maternity leave, having her second child, and it's so clear how well respected she is within the team. And it sort of also highlights that even if she's not yet back to winning races, she has a hugely positive influence over the team with her experience, being able to shepherd some of the younger riders through the bunch and teach them. And they talk about how she's helped Gaia Raolini, who then went on to perform so well at the Women's Vuelta.
Yep.
So really great to have her back. And one really interesting thing that she talks about is that in every single interview, she kind of essentially gets asked who's looking after the kids. And she said, I've got a teammate, Bauker, who's got 3 kids at home, and he's never been asked who are looking after your kids. And so she's like, shout out to journos. If you want me to talk, don't ask me who's looking after the kids.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty interesting. But great to see her back in the bunch.
It sure is. What a story. And I love the inspiration that she provides as well. And also the getting back to full fitness, that side of it will be really, really interesting and how
Yes.
she's gone about that. Now, another person who's getting back to full fitness is a little known male cyclist. Now, I might be pronouncing this today, Pogacar, who I believe hurt his wrist.
Is this where the toe crunches come in?
Yes, so
we got there.
Has revealed himself to the world. He's in Monaco and he's chilling. He's going out on a pretty tight budget because he's not, overly wealthy and just seeing the sights. But when he's not doing that, he's working out and he's doing toe crunches in his kitchen. Toe crunches in his garden, jogging up the stairs near his home and working on rollers in his kitchen.
Well,
What's a toe crunch?
I don't know what a toe crunch is. I am going to find out.
Please do.
Yes. The one of the UAE coaches, Kevin Poulton, is a really well-respected Aussie coach.
I'm trying to do one here, but this feels more like a car
It looks
phrase.
like a car phrase, what you're doing, Joel.
I'm trying to stand like a ballerina.
Like crunching up on your toes.
Yeah.
How's that working?
It hurts.
Ooh. It's great. I mean, he says he's taken the opportunity to watch his fiancée Erska Zigart, who rides for Jayco Alula at the Women's Welter, so that's fantastic. But what I thought was a little bit funny is that he's riding, he calls it rollers. In Australia, if you're not a track rider, you'd call it a trainer. Rollers are a really specific track thing. He's not on that based on the photos, but he's, if not one of the highest paid riders in the sport, in the millions, right? When he's on his trainer, he puts it in his kitchen. There's no pain cave. There's no ginormous mansion with a big garage underneath.
Yeah.
I had a bit of a laugh at that.
I did too, yeah. He's frugal.
Yes, I hope he puts a mat down so the floor's not slippery afterwards. Don't want to damage the tiles in the kitchen.
Yeah, exactly. And no amount of toe crunches will save you from slipping on a puddle of sweat.
No, but it's good to see him back. Jeez, he's funny, isn't he? Like, I just love how he, responds on social media, and he peels back the curtain a bit. He lets us see what he's up to and stay on the journey.
He does. And then Remco
Fist pump
responds to him very supportively. And you don't often see that with these great rivals. Remco coming in, he basically called him boss man.
Boss man.
You're a monster. Love you.
I know. Well, and so long as their rivalry at the moment has small overlaps, not giant ones, I think we're going to see that camaraderie grow.
I think so.
Yeah.
And like you said at the top of the program, is that they're both young, very, very young.
They are. And while we're on the funny stuff and talking about people supporting each other, turns out that Ben Stiller, Hollywood Ben Stiller, is a massive Gerraint Thomas fan.
There you go.
And has been sending him shout-outs on social media, which is sending people bananas.
Oh, wow.
They just don't understand the link at all.
So Ben Stiller
it's
is up watching the
fantastic.
Giro and getting behind.
He
goodness.
loves Gerraint Thomas. So there you go.
Okay, I didn't know Ben Stiller was a
we
bike
haven't
guy.
had any Hollywood at the Grand Tour since Armstrong was bringing along Matthew McConaughey and Sheryl Crow and such.
All right.
All right. Oh, and Patrick Dempsey, also known as McDreamy. He came along too, so.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if he could start supporting any riders and start coming along, I wouldn't be disappointed.
Donations always accepted too. If you're listening, Ben.
Yes.
I know you're a producer and whatnot. Hey, Ben. This is the Wheelhouse Podcast coming to you from beautiful Venice next week. All roads lead to Rome. And I'm going to insist that we use some quotes from Gladiator because we're heading to Rome to wrap it all up. It's been a great trip. I've really, really had a ball. A little bit of, travel fatigue setting in, but I tell you what, it's been an extraordinary event.
If you could please dress as Marcus Aurelius.
You knew Marcus Aurelius.
Next week in Rome, that would be tremendous.
Yeah, that's going to happen. This is the Wheelhouse Podcast. Please jump on board. Jump in the saddle with us. Like, share, subscribe. My name's Joel Spreadborough. Your name?
Catherine Bates.
We'll see you next time. Ciao.
Ciao.